Hello, and welcome to Draft to Digital Live Self Publishing Insiders. My name is Mark Leslie Lefebvre, and I am the Director of Business Development for Draft to Digital. And I am so thrilled to have in the virtual studio with me Jenny Simard LaBranche. Jenny, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Mark.
Now, interestingly enough, even though we're both virtual and we're both not in Oklahoma City, which is the office of Draft to Digital, head office. Of course, a lot of our employees are remote all over the place now. But you happen to have actually been hanging out in person with I believe three or more, or four potentially, of our Draft to Digital team in Oklahoma City. Just was it last week? This last weekend?
Yes, yes, it started on Friday, and I did get to hang out with Dan Wood and Kevin Tumlinson of Draft to Digital.
Awesome, awesome. I haven't gotten a chance to hang out with them for a while. I'll be seeing them in a couple of weeks at Novelist Inc. But we're getting ahead of ourselves because you're going to be talking about what you were doing in Oklahoma City, what the conference was. You're going to be talking about all kinds of fun stuff that happened there. But let's give our viewers, our listeners, an opportunity to find out a little bit more about you and how you got into writing in the first place.
All right. Well, for those of you who don't know me, I am Jenny Simard LaBranche, and I am a 50-year-old retired IT specialist and a retired firefighter EMT. Back prior to 9/11, I just finally started to try and, chase my dreams at being a writer. But once 9/11 had happened, it completely shifted everything for me, and I became a firefighter. It was just a year ago on August 26th last year when I left the IT field for a second time with a job that just wasn't working out with my dyslexia. And my husband told me that night, "You're a writer." He's like, "You need to be a writer." So my education process began. I had already I was familiar with Draft to Digital, and I was familiar with William Bernhardt. And it was his Red Sneaker Writers book series that I downloaded. And in 6.5 months utilizing his series, I wrote a 97,000 word first draft.
Whoa. First draft, 97th, right out of the gate. Didn't take you 10 years to write it or any of those things.
Not at all. His
Wow.
books, which are the first ones on the shelf behind me, Story Structure, it brings you through the whole process from outlining your book right through editing.
So I want to go back to something that you said. You just kind of threw it out very casually, but I think it's something that's really, really important, particularly for beginning writers. And we've marketed this as, beginning writer, that we're bringing the beginning writer on, but you've got a lot of experience under your belt. So when you said you did some research and you were looking into things, like where did you go? How did you find out about Red Sneaker? How did you find out about Draft to Digital and the other things that you've already learned?
Well, on Amazon, when I was searching for educational tools so I can self-educate, I had discovered William Bernhardt's Story Structure. And there was a comment in it that said, "How dare I have the audacity to think I can do what my favorite writers do?" And that was it right there for me, because that had been my thought for over 20 years. And in using these books and in researching him, I found out about WriterCon. I found out about self-publishing through Draft to Digital. And it, the experience that I have had this entire year has just completely changed my life. I'm not even the same person I was a year ago. William Bernhardt has the Red Sneaker Writers Group, which has now been renamed this year to WriterCon on Facebook. And I met so many amazing people through there that are so supportive, and they started pointing me in different directions for tools and things I should check out. One of them being one of my new best friends, Betsy Kulikowski, who's also on the shelf behind me, who is the author of the Veritas Codex series. And she has been a mentor to me as well, just pointing me in the right direction, because I'm like, there's not enough information out there. All these podcasts that I watch are all published authors. Yeah, it's great. You're published. I know. I've read your books. But where do new people like me go? How do we get started, especially me at 50 years old? I'm like, where am I going to begin? Well, that was the biggest thing that William Bernhardt's Story Structure and that whole Red Sneaker Writer series did for me. It doesn't matter what stage of the writing process you're in, whether you have 10 books published or 0 books published. That whole entire community is just so supportive and so informative. It was a no-brainer for me to be a part of it. So he also has through a patronage system, through the patronage program like you, and I do want to plug this. For new writers out there, you shouldn't have to pay to get your work published. And that was one of the big ones. I hear so many people saying, oh, I'm saving money to get my book published. I recommend starting with William Bernhardt's story structure, because also within it, I lost my train of thought there a little bit because I know I love to plug, the patronage system or the patronage program. William is my writing coach and my editor. And I pay $100 a month. It's $1,200 a year. And that's to have him unlimited for my writing coach, for editing, educational tools, and his small group writers retreats that are included in the price. Mark, it's $600 to attend one of these. There's at least 2 a year. I'm paying $1,200. They're already included. And
that was included in you're also getting the coaching and the editing?
Yeah. Yep, $1,200 a year and 2 free writers retreats that are a $600 value. And it's not just William you sit down with in these groups, it's other writers. So you're not just getting his feedback, you're getting everybody's feedback, what they're using for tools. So it's very, very helpful.
So I want to go back to another thing you said, because I love the way that you feed this great information. And I'm like, Jenny, we want to dig into this. You said when you turned 50, and a lot of people think, oh no, I should have started when I was 20. It's too late. I'll never be a writer. So you're obviously turning that one on its head and saying, no, 50 you started. But the other thing was, I think the support you have, not just from the writing community, from mentors like William, but support from your family, support from your significant other as well. I think that was a critical element too.
It was a huge element, because I honestly wouldn't be doing this without my husband, Paul. He has literally been working almost 7 days a week. And sorry, I don't mean to get emotional, because I'm not working right now. I needed to do this full time. I needed to commit. It's how I go. I'm either in 100% or I am not in at all. So he's been working so I can be able to afford to go on the writer's retreat, because I obviously still need my airfare to get down there and my room and board and stuff. And so he just believes in me so much. And I have my nieces too, and I believe a couple of them are watching right now. And they have been so supportive with everything. And it's not too late. It's what they say to me. You're 50 years old. And I think it was either Sarah or Alex said to me, it's the right time for you. It wasn't the right time 20 years ago. And now it is. And you can start. Yeah. And you can start at any time.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And so you found William's books. What was it about the story structure book that wanted you to get into the Red Sneaker Writers, like the rest of all of the great content and the great resources that William makes available for other writers?
The books, and I don't mean to say they're simple, but they really are simple to follow. They're not large books. I think 100, 110 pages each. I'm going to grab this one off the shelf right here. They're small books.
Come with props, people. We come with props. This is awesome.
Yes, and I have these on my Kindle, because you can also make digital flashcards on them. But one of the things I wanted to point out from story structure is in the back of it, there is a writer's contract. And this is a powerful tool, because a lot of us have had, like what my friend Betsy Kulikowski describes as imposter syndrome. She even taught a class on it at WriterCon. Am I a writer? Should I be doing this? Well, he provides a contract in the back, and I put my name on it, signed and dated it on August 26, 2021, had my husband witness the signature. It still hangs on my wall. Every day I see it, I am a writer.
So wait a second, you used that, you filled it out, you put it right there where you could see it. The way Stephen King talks about the nail with the rejection slips, the motivation to keep going, right?
Exactly. Okay. And it is motivation to keep going, because I see it every day. I am a writer. And it is a powerful tool.
It's still there. And it is, so we've just recently celebrated the anniversary, right? That first anniversary.
Yes. So yes, we did.
And you have done so much in a year. So not only have you gone from always wanting to be a writer to starting that, you've done the research in person. you've basically, with support and guidance from loved ones, etc., managed to get to 2 different conferences, just in, well, pretty much. I mean, WriterCon was this last weekend, so it was a little after a year, but within the space of roughly a year, 2 conferences in person. Why was it important for you to do the in-person thing as opposed to all of the great resources that are available virtually, online, etc.?
I'm glad you asked this question. It's the interpersonal connections. It makes such a difference when you're able to sit down and talk with somebody. And I know since COVID, we've all been getting used to Zoom and everything, but there is really something to be said for being in person and just making these interpersonal connections with people. Because I went into WriterCon with 3 goals in mind: education, networking, and fun. And I knew fun would dominate all 3 of them. You know me, I'm an excitable person.
Yeah, Jenny, that just seems to come with you. It's just like a given, right? Just, I'm going to enjoy this while I'm doing it, right?
But at the same time, everybody I've been reaching out to on Facebook, building my database, because that's something I just started in April, with having, more friends on Facebook in the writing community. And a lot of the writers on there are just as lost as I was. Where do I start? Where do I begin? Is it too late? So I reach out and friend these people. I'm like, I'm going to tell you where to go right now. And it's typically Draft to Digital. And well, it's always Draft to Digital for self-publishing. And it's always to William Bernhardt and his Red Sneaker Writer book series. He is a genuine human being who truly wants to help people. Because I honestly wonder, how does the man make money with all of this, with everything he gives away for free? And just, there's so much he offers. I don't mean to say he gives it away for free, but he just offers so much.
Well, when you think about $100 a month for all that is entailed in that, and it's not just the online coaching and the editing and the reading and the feedback, it also includes a trip that kind of covers all the expenses that you know what I mean. Like, it would feel like that would be an additional element. So let's talk about. So WriterCon is in Oklahoma City. Was it Labor Day weekend? Was that the weekend
Yes.
it was on? Okay, so Labor Day weekend. And you did the trip. I even saw social media posting, "Hey, I'm on my way." Get excited about that. Saw pictures of you with Kevin and Dan at the conference. But so let's talk about some of your experiences at WriterCon, because you came back from that pretty pumped, pretty excited, pretty energized. Let's walk through some of the things you learned. And that was kind of your first writer conference. You went on a retreat. This is your first writer conference. Let's talk about that experience. So again, remembering there may be beginning writers listening, not sure, they may be about to go to the first conference, have never gone. Let's walk them through your own experiences getting there.
I'm going to step back just a little bit, because when I went to that writer's retreat, Mark, I knew my manuscript was not going to be ready for WriterCon. But after the writer's retreat, with the amount that I took home with what I learned, I removed 10,000 words out
Really?
of my manuscript on my first round of my final draft. And guess what? I was ready for WriterCon, and I wasn't expecting to be. But it's unlike any conference that I have researched, because it offers you, well, education, education, education is the key. That's why I'm saying that one 3 times. And I am a hardcore dedicated autodidact. So I knew that was my primary objective, was to educate myself. Networking. It is huge to be able to connect with all these people that I have been meeting all year on Facebook and be able to make connections. But they also offer things like private consultations and private manuscript reviews. So, for example, Renee Gutteridge, I don't know if you are familiar with her, but her movie Family Camp is available on Amazon. Love's Complicated is out on the Hallmark Channel, and she is currently the head writer of Skits Guys. I sat down with her for a 20-minute private consultation. She had read the first 10 pages of my manuscript, as did Laura Bernhardt, who I am going to point out back here. Her new novel is out, Red Rain. And I got to sit down with her for a private manuscript review. And I do have.
Oh, you accidentally muted yourself when you were reaching for that last book.
I was bound to do something wrong, Mark.
It's usually me, Jenny. It's usually me. So thanks for that.
I wanted to point out Miss Callie Hutton too, because I had a private manuscript review with her also, and she gifted this book to me autographed because her character is dyslexic. And she had heard that I was dyslexic, so she came prepared with a book autographed to give me. And not only does it offer that, but there are classes for everything. I mentioned my friend Betsy Kulikowski did a class on imposter syndrome. We all have that fear. Am I really a writer? And there were master classes that were offered with Robert Dugoni and Stephen James, and they were hilarious. It was so informative. I want to check my list here of all the other stuff, but even the fun things I want to point out, Mark, because I lived out 2 childhood dreams there. I played Family Feud and I played Jeopardy.
Oh my God, there you go.
Yes, and William Bernhardt was the host, and I believe he was living out his dreams of wanting to be a game show host because he was incredible.
Now, is
So
this part of the official programming, or was it social stuff in the evening?
there are social stuff. 2 of them were in the daytime, and it's nice to have that break in between where you just need to take it down a notch from all the information you're taking in. But in the evenings, like on Friday night, they had open mic night. And on Saturday, where Kevin Tumlinson of Draft to Digital got up and sang like 3 times so incredibly, karaoke night. So there is
He's our
so
karaoke
much.
ringer around here.
He is. He is. I'm like, well, shit, I'm not getting up to sing now.
I follow him all the time, and what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
I wanted to get up and sing, and I'm definitely going to next year, but I am tone deaf with my dyslexia, so I don't need to see the lyrics. I need to be able to hear them a little bit. So maybe next year I'll plan to do a duet with somebody so I can hear them singing as well, because it was
I'm
much
a fan
fun.
of the duet. I'm a fan of the duet so that we can humiliate ourselves together. That's why I always drag Dan up on stage with me. So I want to talk a little bit about dyslexia in terms of that challenges of working as a writer with dyslexia. How did you approach that? What were some of the things that helped you? You talked about, the auditory thing was useful for lyrics and singing. What about with the writing and when you're digging into the manuscript, etc.?
That was a bit of a challenge. There's a lot of things that I do, like just to point out, for example, I mean, everybody can see I have a massive book collection. This is one of 4 shelves. I mean, one of 4 bookcases that I have. But the older I get, it's the words jump around on the page for me. So I have to do a lot of Kindle reading so I can change the font and the color background. Even just handwriting. I am a handwriter. I love to write out, I outline in pencil, and I have to use even different colored. I can't use white legal pads. I have to use pastel ones.
Okay.
Because it makes the letters, I just can't read it. It acts like I have dysdactylia also. I don't know who come up with these words, but they're terrible people.
They're hard to say.
They really are, and to spell. But it's the math one, and that is my worst one because it literally looks like all binary to me. But if I'm reading too long or writing too long on the wrong materials, then I get nauseous. I get physically nauseous from it. So I had to, I looked into things like that, and I discovered how much easier it is with the pastel paper. I already knew about Kindle because I changed my writing or the fonts. But that was my biggest fear, was coming into it, Mark, because I also have audible and verbal dyslexia. I, in fact, run that entire spectrum, with the one exception that would have let people know I had dyslexia. I do not write my letters and numbers backwards. So I am that rare exception that it wasn't noticed till I was an adult. And I even denied it when I found out. I didn't want to accept it. But while I can never overcome dyslexia, I can combat it, and I have been. But it stopped me from being an author. I digress here again. But what I was going to say with the audible and verbal, sometimes I will go to use a word, and my brain will give me a very similar looking word with a completely different context, which you have experienced before. So there's a lot of, embarrassment with that. I grew up being called stupid in school because I couldn't spell and do math. So it was a lot. But, my husband's the one, again, that, told me that's what they have editors for.
That's right. Yeah.
It is, but it's more than that too. I had to find the confidence in myself to let go of it, because it is the number one thing that has stopped me my whole life from pursuing my dream.
So let me ask you something, because I think anyone watching this live, listening to this later in the podcast feed, anyone who hears you is thinking, "Oh my goodness, what a positive attitude she has. What a, like, we can do this, go get her attitude." Where did that come from? I mean, especially, being mocked in school and all the things that happened. Where did that positivity, where did that, what do you attribute that to?
Um, I know, we grew up, my brother and sister and I, my parents worked in the film industry. So we were constantly moving, endlessly the new kids at school. And so you face a lot of rejection coming into school, trying to make friends and all that. So, my mother had told me, we all grew up with the sticks and stones. And so she taught me to have, really thick skin. And it made a difference that, no matter what, just try to do what I want to do, because at least I'm trying.
Right.
Sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional.
No, no, I love that, but I think that's something that I think we in this conversation can help beginning writers with, because one of the biggest challenges writers face is, well, whether they're showing it to an editor, showing it to friends when they finish their first draft, whatever, or when it's live, when it's on online retailers, available wherever, anyone can pick it up, and they can say not necessarily nice things, right? Like, there's that criticism that's going to come with it, some of it positive, some of it negative, some of it just cruel and mean. I'm imagining that you're going to employ some of that same attitude towards those inevitable reviews that happen to everyone.
Mhm.
Stephen King, all the major, William, I'm sure, even has negative reviews for his great books, etc. And all of the great books you've held up as well, there's going to be some negativity. What is it? Is it that same attitude that you carry forward when it comes to that criticism, and that you can't do this, or this is no good?
It is. And knowing that people like Stephen King and J.K. Rowling, they were rejected so many times. So you have to go into it with the attitude. And it's what my husband said to me: hope for the best, expect the worst.
Okay,
So
all right,
I'm already expecting the rejection. And if I don't get it, perfect. If I do, I'm already prepared for it.
cool. Oh, thank you.
And I think this past year, I have more than my attitude has changed so much about who I am as a person. And I don't care anymore if I'm going to face that rejection. I'm not going to let it stop me.
So you also seem to be very outgoing, energetic, inspiring, full of energy. That all the traits that someone would attribute to an extrovert, and yet we've had conversations, and you're actually technically not an extrovert. You're actually an introvert. Can you explain that a little bit more?
Yes, and a lot of people that know me will know that I'm not a very social person. I don't go out, I don't socialize. I have a handful of friends who are also introverts. So it's wonderful if somebody's hand hits the door, they're like, I'm not the same person a week ago, when I made these plans. So I don't want to go. I'm like, perfect, I'll just lay back down.
Yeah, yeah, I'm
So
good. I'm good. I stay home with a book. Okay.
even my best friend Laurie Blakaitis, since I was 15 years old, sometimes we don't see each other a lot. We're both introverts, but it works for us because it doesn't take away the friendship that's there and the connection that we have. So, but among the introverts, I am the extrovert.
Okay.
So, like, for example, at WriterCon, a lot of us got in early. And Thursday night, one of my friends, Claire, had set up a dinner so we could all get to know each other. But unfortunately, work came up for her and she wasn't able to make it. I'm like, I'm going to pick up the torch for you, Claire. So I met everybody in the lobby, and I can see all the introverts walking by looking like, is that Jenny? And I'm like, yo. I'm like, this is the group right over here. I'm like, come on over, introduce yourself, because I want people to feel welcome. I was
Right.
excluded from a lot of things when I was a kid, and I didn't like being left out. So I always want to make people feel included.
Awesome. I love that. I love that. So I'm going to have to put on my reading glasses now, because I know it's a little early in the interview, but we've got some great comments, and I'm going to want to start to address some of the comments. And I saw
Fantastic.
one that just popped in that, and this is related to what we were just talking about, and it comes from Rhonda. Rhonda says, with my introvert friends, I'm an introvert. I may not see or talk to them for months, but when we get together, it's like the conversation never stopped. Is that something that you've experienced as well?
Rhonda, hello, Rhonda. I am so glad you were here. Um,
You know one another.
we met. She is one of my friends. She is an incredible person. We met on the writers retreat. I am so happy you were here. Can you pop that question back up?
Oh, of course, yeah, of course, so you can see it.
Thank you. It's like the conversation never stopped. That is exactly what it is. Literally, I will talk to, one of my friends. It'll be 3 months, and we literally pick up right where we ended. And it is like that. So
I love
introverts,
that.
we understand each other.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. That's a really great way of putting it. I am gonna comment just pop up a few little things. Alex says hi, Auntie, and 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 Sarah of course sends a
Oh,
whole bunch of art. This must be your supportive family members that you've mentioned before.
those are two of my nieces, Alex and Sarah Martineau. Yes, I love you
Right.
both so much, and thank you for being here. I know Christina's not here. I know she's busy, but she's a
Awesome.
police officer. They're my sister Michelle Lee Crow's three girls. They're my oldest three nieces, and not only have they told me their whole lives that I have been a source of inspiration, sorry, for them,
Right.
but they have been an incredible source of inspiration for me. It
Oh.
doesn't matter how old somebody is, they inspire me all the time.
And that, Jenny, I'm so glad you said that because that is so true. We can learn from anyone. We can learn from beginning writers. We can learn from our nieces, our nephews, other family members. Yeah, so beautifully said. I'm going to pop up another comment from Melissa. Melissa says, first of all, let me say I'm proud to be your friend. We're going to get all mushy and emotional here.
I
We
know.
already have, so that's fine. We're here. We're open. We're authentic.
Yep.
We're vulnerable. We'll do it. But Melissa's question is: are you thinking about writing other types of books, like maybe true crime, romance, mystery, etc.?
Oh, Melissa, I love you. I hope the weather's good in Wisconsin. Wisconsin. Yes, I am, Melissa. I do write supernatural fantasy and horror, and that's all it says up there that I write right now. But I am working on other things because I
Okay.
am actually, yeah, I'm working on a lot of other things, Melissa.
Well, I'm going to throw in a question in response to that. So, Jenny, you've got this novel that you worked on, but you've got, I imagine, like many writers, millions of ideas swirling around in your head. How do you decide what's that next thing? Because you have so many different genres and ideas.
um, it seems to be what characters seem to speak to me the most. Sorry, I'm getting an echo again. Um, sorry, I'm just going to.
We do the one ear thing with the echo.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Ask the question again. Sorry.
How do you decide what to write with so
Yes.
many different ideas, etc.?
It seems to be what character, because I always start with characters, and it seems to be whatever character speaks the loudest to me in my mind. And I was almost going to not mention that until I heard the amazing Robert Dugoni speak at WriterCon last weekend. And he said that it happens to him as well. Sometimes it comes to him in his dreams, and it's who's speaking the loudest to him at the time, whose story needs to be told the most. And in this
I like
case, it
that.
was Reagan's story, and which we'll get to after.
Oh,
But it's
awesome.
whoever speaks to me the most.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. It's like, okay, I'm going to have to pay attention to you. So, again, just getting caught up on some comments. Jim said less than 10 minutes in, and there's already so much wisdom from Jenny being dropped here. So
Oh,
awesome.
thank you so much, Jim. I'm so glad you're here too. This is so amazing. I wish I could see everybody that's here.
And this is
Ah,
from Michelle. So this is an interesting question. I'm glad Michelle asked this. So Michelle says, "What is your favorite book of all time?" I'll ask that first, let you answer it, and then I'll jump on to the rest of the questions.
The Two Towers.
The Two Towers. Okay, all right. What is your favorite author?
Um, Tolkien.
Well, those go hand in hand, kind of, don't they? There
They
we
do,
go.
but I do also want to point out because my niece Alex, who's also on here, introduced myself. Michelle Crow is my big sister, and Alex introduced us to Sarah J. Maas. And
Oh,
yes, she has the Court of Thorns and Roses series and Throne of Glass. So the literary love of my life is Resand from Court of Thorns and Roses. And that would be, if I was to take Tolkien out of the picture, Sarah J. Maas's second book, A Court of Mist and Fury, would be my favorite book. So, because
Awesome.
I absolutely, yeah, she's a brilliant author. And I love that I connect with that with my big sister and with my niece Alex. And I know my niece Sarah is going to be reading them too. So,
well, no wonder Reagan spoke so loudly to you, right? From that genre, from that realm, etc. So, okay, so Michelle's next question, and this is a question that a lot of beginning writers think about. I had to. I mean, I write under Mark Leslie typically because nobody could spell or pronounce Lefebvre. With my writing stuff, and that was a decision I made in my teens. I did get started a lot earlier, but her question was, did you consider not using your given name and to go with a pseudonym? Is that something that you considered?
No, not at all. I never considered using a pseudonym. And Michelle, you ask great questions, and I broke the rules with beta reading because she is one of my beta readers because she's so honest. If she's going to hurt my feelings, she'll do it. I knew I would get hardcore feedback from her that I would need. Pop that back up again, Mark.
Oh yeah, sorry. I have to go back up to that question. There we go.
Michelle, the reason I decided not to use a pseudonym and to go with my name is because I have struggled with my own identity my whole life. And it is one of the things that's going to come up because, as you know, Mark, I just finally come out publicly this year being autistic. So it was a lot for me struggling and trying to learn who I was. Because I found out at the age of 24 that I'm an Aspie. I have Asperger's. And I started doing not case studies they were called, but I started going to colleges, Mark, and joining case studies is what the word I'm going to use because I learned so much about myself, especially in the big group ones that I started doing. Because my husband had me by 2003 exploring more things and doing big group get-togethers with people that were autistic.
Right.
And so struggling with my identity, and finally coming into who I am now, I want to use my name, Michelle. I am cutting the Simard out of it because it's a lot for people to look up and people give up. If they hear my name, Jenny Simard LaBranche, and they start typing, they're going to give up partway through. So I'm going to
anger exhaustion, right?
Yes. People don't have patience. So I'm going to go with Jenny LaBranche on my book, Michelle. I'm so glad you asked that question. I love her so much.
Well, Rhonda's comment is that your name is ideal for a writer of fantasy and adventures as well. So,
Thank
Jenny
you, Rhonda.
LaBranche. I mean, yeah, it has that. It has that feel to it too. Awesome.
I'm loving the questions.
Yeah. So another question more about your writing from Sarah, and Sarah asks, where are you at with your book, and what are your next steps, Jenny? So you talked about this fantasy novel, and thank you, Sarah, for that question. You talked about it. So where are you with that book, and what's happening next with the book? Did anything cool happen when you were in Oklahoma City?
WriterCon far exceeded my expectations. One of the parts I didn't mention that you get to do at WriterCon is you have an opportunity to pitch to agents, pitch to publishers, and I did.
Okay. Were you nervous?
I was.
Yeah.
I was, but I was excited. I went in so prepared, Mark. You know me. I'm a hyper preparer. And even if for some reason I went prepared for in case I blew it, I had agent packages set up. I'm going to show you this after. Hold on.
Okay.
I pitched and I had 2 agents that not only requested my full manuscript, which Sarah, right now I am in the final.
Wait, hang on a second. You just say that so cavalierly. Two different agents requested the full manuscript.
And not only that, I went prepared and pitched my urban fantasy to one of them. I forgot to the first one. And
what were you talking about then?
Well, I just got into the conversation so much and what was going. You know what? No, I'm going to not mention the agent's names right now because I don't know if I should. So
no, that's fine. That's between you and the agent.
Yes, I almost just did. But with one of them, the conversation was just flowing so good, and I had so much information I needed to write down from her, but I had to stop her and say, I'm sorry, I am dyslexic. I'm not going to get all this. She's like, you know what? Give that to me. She hand wrote out everything for me. So I forgot to pitch my urban fantasy, but I did
Wow.
but I did remember to the second agent, and she requested that as well. And there was an agent I also pitched to, and this is the thing for new writers out there with going to WriterCon. I pitched specifically to an agent that I knew was not interested in fantasy. And
Really?
yes, I pitched my fantasy novel to her
Okay.
because I wanted her to know who I was, because next year when I go back, I am going to have something prepared that she will be interested in.
Oh, and she has that familiarity with you, and it already knows you, so there's that. Okay, I like
And
that's a smart move.
and more than that, I went with my little agent packages. I got to try and hold
Okay.
this the right way. I'm trying here, Mark.
So it looks like it's a one sheet with, just for people listening in the
No.
audio feed, there's a book cover, there's a blurb, something about you, something about the book.
What it is it's my business card with my pitch sheet attached and chapter one of my novel.
Okay.
And and one of the agents that I knew wasn't interested, I had that prepared to give her. I did give it to all of them, but I specifically had it prepared for her because, and she said it, she's like, wow, you are so prepared. How can I not take and read this? She says, you are so organized. And she will remember me next year when I got back. Oh, Betsy Kulikowski, overprepared is better than underprepared. It sure is my BFF. I absolutely adore her.
Awesome. I want to go back I want to go back to something really, really important, particularly for writers who are going to pitch to editors, agents, or even for writers doing a reading in front of an audience. Here's the thing to remember, and this is that agent who you expressed, hey, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble following, I'm dyslexic. And the agent stepped up and said, here, let me help you. And this is an important thing, I think, for writers to know. The agent is there because they want you to be successful. They're there to find great books that they can pitch to publishers. Or if it's an editor with a publisher, they're there to find great books that could publish and sell. They're in your corner. They're not an adversary. So they're there wanting to support you, wanting you to be successful. And that's the thing to remember if you're ever nervous in front of an audience. They want you to be successful. They're there to cheer you on. And I think, and you highlighted that so beautifully, because I remember throwing up before pitching to a New York agent editor way back in the day. I was just so nervous. And then once I sat down, and he complimented my tie because he said Richard Lehman had a similar tie, who's a horror author I admired, and I was like, oh my god, yeah, he has edited Richard Lehman, and he put me immediately at ease. And it seemed like the agents did that job for you as well, right?
Yes, and another thing that I want to add to this is, yes, the agents, when you go in there, the agent is hoping you are going to, they want you. They're looking for people, and you need to do your homework on these agents. I printed out resume sheets for every agent I was going to be sitting down
So
with.
you really knew who these people were.
Yes. You want to go in prepared. You want to know what genres they work with, what they don't work with, so you're familiar with who they are. Because another thing is, and this is the attitude I went in with, especially with one of the agents that I knew I was going to be pitching to that wasn't, didn't want fantasy. What if she knows somebody who does? What if she's like, this isn't for me,
Yeah.
but I happen to know somebody who might be interested. And that did happen to me.
It is a small community. That is so true. I'm going to say Nick. Nick says that your agent package is inspiring. There we go. Cool.
Thank you so much, Nick. Yeah, I did go prepared. You want to be prepared because then it takes away all the nervousness from you.
Yeah, just popping up. Betsy's overprepared is better than it's that reminder again. So,
Yes.
all right. So
Betsy
Rhonda
is the
asks,
one who taught that class too about imposter syndrome, which is big because, like I
oh
said,
yes,
we
of
all
course.
face that.
Oh, we
Yes.
still New York Times best-selling authors face it all the time. So
Yes.
it's just something we live with, I guess, or learn how to live with. Rhonda asked, so okay, you're sending of the three agents you met with, two of them wanted to see the full manuscript, but did you get any feedback from the agents and publishers as well that you're willing to share?
Yes, I did. one of the agents, I mean, I feel like I'm already friends with this woman. She was so amazing. WriterCon also offers agent lunches, so you
Okay.
can sit down and get to know these people. So I happened to do that on both days. I knew it would be in my best interest to get to know them on a personal level before I pitched to them.
Oh, that reduces the nervousness so much.
It really does.
Yeah.
And you know what? And being the person I am with always wanting people to be comfortable, WriterCon had the app we were able to use, Wova, and we were able to connect with everybody. And I was thinking to myself, what must it be like for these agents to have to sit down in a lunch with a bunch of people they don't know? So
Right.
being who I am, I messaged them all ahead of time on that Wova app. I'm like, it is me you are having lunch with, because I wanted to set them at ease too.
Oh, that's fun. I love that you're trying to put the agents at ease.
I can't help it,
Okay,
Mark.
is it fair to say you're an empathetic person?
Very,
Yeah, always
very.
thinking about the other person. That
I
is
am.
so kind. Okay,
And
cool.
it's what
I
I
mean,
connected with.
okay.
Oh, go ahead. Nope.
I was going to
I'll
say
wait.
that's probably why you stepped up to the plate when your friend wasn't able to do the event, and you said, "Okay, I'm going to help these people who are obviously like me, introverted. Come on over here. We got you."
Yeah.
Right.
And we had a fantastic night.
Awesome. I think I
Yeah.
saw some pictures. Looked like there was quite a group of wonderful people sitting there. That's great.
Yeah.
So, Fran says, yeah, very thoughtful to think of the agents.
Thank you, Fran.
And Betsy, of course, offers the advice of imposter syndrome: fake it till you make it. All righty. So
Exactly, Betsy.
I really appreciate the great comments from the live viewers. And so, Jenny, as we're getting close to the end and sort of wrapping this up, what's some bits of advice that you would like to share for beginning writers who, you're a year X into this journey, and like myself, we're both still learning a lot. But what were some things that you would want beginning writers to attend to be aware of, things that they should know that can maybe help them out, make them feel better?
All of our first manuscripts are crap. Okay. You can't fear having that first manuscript read and getting the feedback on it. You need it.
Right.
I'm so embarrassed people still have copies of my first manuscript out there. It is terrible. You won't learn by doing it right the first time. You have to make mistakes. It's part of the process, and you need this feedback to be able to improve yourself.
Oh, I like that. I like that. That is fantastic. Thank you. I'm just a callback from Michelle. In my world, it's fake it until you become it. Is that dress for the
Love that
role that you
show.
want? Right.
Yeah,
I
I
like that.
love that. Until you become it.
Yeah, there
I
you
love
go.
that, Michelle. Thank you, because I
That's why
have
I'm putting my
become a
Spider-Man
writer.
costume on after this. I'm just going to go put it on. That's it. Um, so again, so what's next for you, Jenny? So you got back from this WriterCon. You're going to be sending the manuscripts off to
Oh,
these
yes,
agents.
because
What's next?
yes, Sarah had asked that question where I was in the process. I'm on the final rounds, I should say, of my final draft.
Okay.
And right now, the agents I will be sending it to ask questions when you go in, because I'm like, how long do I have to send you the manuscript? Are you going to read it immediately? Or do you have a downtime that you're going to read my manuscript? Two of them said not until Thanksgiving. So I'm like, fantastic. I will send my manuscript to you just before Thanksgiving so I can take the time to tighten the screws down on that a bit more.
Right. And also similarly, you can send it to them and then say, okay, I'm not going to just sit here and wait by the mailbox. Yeah,
Okay,
hopefully for months and months, right?
the amazing agent who took my pen and paper from me to write down the information when she found out I was dyslexic, she even included writing on there. Once I send it to her, give her a bump.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, because they have a
Yeah.
lot coming across their desk.
Yeah.
Um,
Ask questions. That's the biggest thing to the new writers. Ask
ask
questions.
questions. Awesome. Jenny, for anyone who wants to learn more about you, check out some of the stuff that you have coming out, where can they find you online?
Facebook would be the easiest place right now. And there, thank you, Mark. That is the link, or you can type in, you can even just type in Jenny Simard LaBranche too. I know it has it up there. I'm getting used to that, Mark. I forget it puts me Jenny S. But find me on Facebook, man. If you're a new writer, reach out to me. I will share information with you.
Awesome. Awesome. Jenny, thank you so much for the inspiration and the wisdom and the guidance. I know you have already helped many writers who you may never hear from, but you helped inspire them. So thanks for taking the time and hanging out with us here today.
All right. Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me. And thank you, everybody that joined.
I just want to remind people, if you want to catch our live broadcasts on Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we are here every Thursday on your YouTube channel, on Facebook. Be sure to like and follow and subscribe. If you are a beginning writer, you can start your self-publishing career at draft2digital.com. Be sure to bookmark d2dlive.com so you don't miss out on great guests like Jenny. You can get insider tips over at d2d.tips/insight, all kinds of great things. And of course, always insights and great content over at draft2digital.com/blog. Jenny, thanks again for being here, and thank you for the great live audience. And hello to all the listeners in the future in podcast land. Take care, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.